Who's going?
Okay, well done, guys. Welcome. What a busy day this has been. Yeah? Will you agree?
Very busy.
It has been a busy day.
Thank you very much. Lots of insights.
Lots of insights, yeah?
Yes.
So yeah, maybe let's just reflect first before we go to the actual feedback by your rapporteurs and the chairpersons. It's like top of the day, and when you think of when you started early in the morning and where you are now, you can agree with Maliva when he says that it looks impossible until it's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You have tick off the box of the annual internal and external mentorship program, the LEKGOTLA Way. It's done. You'll only see it again next year. So what we expect you to do is to now between now and next year March to go and practice those new things that you raised from the session. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Which team wants to go first in terms of feedback?
I think we can go first. That is Team 1. So our official name is the Prodigal Son. So what motivated our
Who's the prodigal son?
Yes.
I suspect the pastor had something to do with that one.
Yes. So
Lugisani is the prodigal son. And
yeah.
doesn't come.
So
I see, just hold it there. I see that Witumel is trying to log in, but the device is not connected. Michael, if you can give her a note that the device is not connected, but we can see that she's trying to come into the studio. As soon as it's connected, I will let her in. Yeah, if you can just WhatsApp her or SMS her. Sorry, Sekha, you can carry on.
Yes, so as we all figured it out, the motivation behind it was one of our team members, Lungisani. So we lost quite a bit of time during the mini LEKGOTLA. So we lost him due to technical issues and other things. So we kept looking for him. He was our chairperson, and ultimately we had to elect a deputy chair. So which we'll get to know now. But also it speaks to the theme of the day. So with the prodigal son, he needed mentorship. So it speaks to the significance of mentorship in order to bring the best out of a person and move forward into the new version of yourself and the future. So that's what motivated our team name. Then with the participant in our team, it was Buitumelo. The name means he was the one that...
Just please mute if you are not talking because I'm getting feedback. Yeah, carry on, Sekha.
Yeah, so our team members were, the first one was Buitumelo. The name comes from happiness. So she brought happiness into her family because she comes from a male-dominated family. She was one of the first few females to be born into that family. So that symbolized the happiness that she has brought and the joy to that family lineage. The other person was Sibusiso. Sibusiso means blessing in Zulu, and the name explains itself. Being the first son in the family, the grandmother gave him that name to be a blessing to the future. Then we had Lungisani, and he has quite a couple of names, but what that name means is that good things are about to happen to him. And he will also mean good things to the future and the people. Yeah. And one of his nickname, which links to that name that he got while he was at school, is Sifritz. Yeah. So you can go Google it That was the challenge he gave to us.
What is the name?
Fritz. Yeah, Fritz. So we can go Google.
Difference.
Yeah. Then we had Sydney Metro, that's his other name. So the name Metro was given to him when he was young and they were playing some dice. But also that motivated his future. That's where he was motivated, that he learned his desire to play soccer, and in his life he became a professional soccer player. He is also the deputy chairperson that we elected after our prodigal son left. And yeah. Then we have myself, Sekhalmeji, that's why I'm sitting here and presenting, talking on behalf of the team. I was the elected scribe, and my name is basically a clear name. It has no meaning of that I could put to it, but my other name being Beatrice is the Greek goddess of beauty or love. It's a Greek name derived from the name Beatrix. Yeah. So during our mini Lekgotla, we had to go through what we learned the entire day. And with our day that unfold, we started off with meditation. Then we had a reflection moment in terms of our life journey and what mentors were behind it, or what kept us motivated in that life journey from early childhood up until senior citizenship. Some of us are senior citizens. And then we went into the lecture on mentorship. Then we also had to talk about our takeaway moments, which is our aha moment of the day. So with meditation, which was the first agenda on today's, was what we learned from that was that it helped us to connect with ourselves, both spiritually, mentally, and physically at the beginning of the Lekgotla. This way, we were able to be more relaxed the entire day, and we released a lot of anxiety that we had within ourselves, and we could release what happened throughout the week. Like a majority of us had a very busy week, so we could focus on what we're gonna learn today. Then the second part was the transitioning into our life, what type of mentorship we received as we go through. So we summarized it into things. I guess the first mentor of our life is mainly family. So from our family upbringing, that's where majority of we get the support structures that we need. Our families are there to be a source of inspiration. They've inspired us to focus on our education and our career and to be our cheerleaders, basically. And with some families, like one of our colleagues, Vitumelo, who come from a very political background, that's where she was taught how to dominate in any environment that she finds herself. And what her key motto in life is to transform any life that she comes upon. So that's the value of family that has mentored or brought us into who we are today. The other part was like, when we talk about family, we're not just talking about our mothers and fathers. So some people are not necessarily raised by their mothers or fathers directly, but they are raised by a community. So from being raised by your grandparents, they're able to introduce you to the family and public figures that can guide your life and introduce you to opportunities that motivated them to attain that education and improve on their leadership skills. Then the other people were motivated by one of our colleagues who one of the mentor lesson that they've learned was from them being headhunted to come work in a city that is foreign to them and help them face their fears of the big city. So prior to coming to Johannesburg, for example, they were scared or never even considered building a career in Johannesburg. So that's part of the mentors that guided their lives. Then we also spoke about significance of mental health, that some benefited from having access to life coaches like psychologists, or whether being at school, being the wellness centers that university offers them in order to guide them when they were facing difficulties in their lives, whether they're about to give up on a lecture or facing how to deal with peer pressure in order to move from ECD up to maturity. Part of our mentors in life as well talks to our teachers. Some of our mentors were the teachers that taught us at school, including professors. One of the examples, as one person was mentored by a professor who was able to understand the person both individually, by understanding the background of that person and what the person's strengths were. They were able to help them better understand themselves and place them in the right group structures to improve on their academic life, and as well help them to learn science, technology, and innovation. Then we move over to the workplace. One of the workplace mentors is our managers. And in the workplace, what came about there was also the issue of timing that came there. Like if we had known about mentorship or even followed structures or like COMETSA and joined it at an early development, maybe in life we could have been at an advanced level of personal improvement and growth with that. But at that early intervention, some of the mentors that we received were our line managers. And one of them was like, as a male colleague, having to report to a female person just in the initial phases of their career, they were able to learn different management style and leadership style that a female manager can bring to the table, and they themselves learned how to lead with empathy and different gestures. That's on the transitioning. And in closing, from that introspection and reflection from our early childhood to adulthood, one thing that we agreed that we learned is that with our transitioning or education system, we still need to learn how to build relationships, how to think, and how to solve problems, which is what mentorship can bring to an individual. So our takeaway for today's lesson, being the mentorship lecture that we received, was that with mentorship, it needs to be a formalized program that every person involved in that program has a better understanding of mentorship. And we also learned that there is a difference between mentorship and coaching. And that was the biggest debate that we're having throughout the day. And as well as how to balance customer and employee satisfaction, and also how to the selection process behind finding a mentor. That's one of the things that we learned today. And also we learned from mentorship, you can use it as an opportunity to levy support from the people that makes decisions to push you to what your interests are or what you want to achieve in your personal growth. And we also learned that if you want to be a mentor, you need to be knowledgeable in the area of the expertise that you're going to be mentoring the person. And also, as a mentor, you can also gain, it's not just about the mentee, you can gain and benefit from the mentee-mentor relationship, as well as it's also your opportunity as a mentor to share your failures to protect the future generation or your mentee from repeating the same mistakes. And another thing that we learned is that we need to balance, a person need a balance in terms of the mentor relationship that they have. The balance meaning that you need both male and female mentors in your life. You don't need to have a one-sided mentor-mentee relationship. And we also learn there's different types of mentorships or mentors that you can find, peer group and all the others. And also we learned that when it comes to mentorship, you can mentor a person that's outside of your profession. And that also speaks to the other key area that you need to be knowledgeable in that expertise. You can be a person in development or graphic design or designing that you can mentor a doctor on how to best design their consultation room, for example. You being a mentor to a person outside of that profession. And also as leaders, we need to create an environment whereby we can work together to benefit the organization. And yeah, Deputy Chair, anything I missed?
Wow, that's you've said everything, you know. But maybe just to say that one of the key things that came out today, which is very, very important, is the environment that is being created by both the mentee and the mentor. And I think that you know, what we said is that we have, as responsible people who want to see our organization succeeding, to be able to you know, create that environment, not to frustrate the environment, because anything that has to be successful is dependent on the willingness of the people that are in that environment to reach a common goal and a common purpose. So that's what for me that came out. For example, when it comes to the issue of innovation and creativity, you know, some people they take risk, some people they don't really are acceptable to risk. But what I learned today is that actually taking risk is the way. You know, we are living in a new digital age, and we are living in a new environment. So we cannot be using the old means of solving the new problems. So we need to come out of our comfort zone and really embrace change. You know, and once we start to have that intention of embracing change, we can make a huge difference, not only in this country but in our own organizations, and working under leadership that is also paving the way. You know, also, you know, what came out from our session, which I think we didn't actually mention, is the difference between leadership and management. You know, and it was a strong point to say that as leaders, we go up front and pave ways for our employees. But when we spend much more time working on the vision and working on the mission, and the employees, and we've got a capacity that comes from the management to help us realize that vision. So it means collaboration, networking becomes a very, very important thing. So and that's all I can say. And well done, Sekhala Mitsi, for your wonderful presentation. And I think our team will be very much proud of you. Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you.
Done. Thank you so much, and thanks for adding more inputs to it, Brother Sidney. Nice takeaways there. Any member of your team that wants to add anything? Otherwise, we move to the next group.
Yeah, no, just a quick one, son.
Yes.
I think one other thing, but my colleagues have touched on everything, but I think one other thing that that had a huge impact for me is the Japanese example that we came up with, that we can't do things the same way and expect different results. At some stage, discipline has got to be the key, and that's the only way in which you can change the outputs. So yeah, and then it cuts across, in corporate, in politics, and everywhere. As long as we are doing things the same way, we can't have different results.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much, Ismu. Great. We move to the next group. I'm not sure who's giving feedback for the second group.
Okay. Tendene is supposed to be our speaker, but she is nowhere.
It looks like she probably had connection challenges.
Yeah. Okay. So I suppose I'm stuck with it. Me and Michael.
You can co-present.
The great thing, though, is that you've really covered most of the things that we also discussed. And so what we'll be doing is really just filling in the gaps in the areas that you didn't cover. So starting with the names. Well, I think Michael is straightforward. We didn't even bother asking him because we know Archangel Michael from the Bible. And if you don't, I suggest you go read the Bible. To understand what critical role Archangel Michael plays in the Bible. Absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
And the role he plays at COMETSA is just as much as Michael does in the Bible. He's a busy man.
Wow.
All right. So that was that. In terms of names, my name. We talked about my surname, but I think maybe let me talk about my first name, which is Taremeretswa. I'm the only boy in a family of 6, and 5 girls and me. So Taremeretswa means we've been honored, and so I was given that name because the parents felt honored to have me. Now, I think I've done them proud, but I still need the jury's out on that. Yeah. So, my note taker isn't there, so I'm not going to hazard the other names. Michael, do you think you could help me out with the other two, or do we move on? I know that Tendani full name is Nyamunonoka, but because from Rwanda they came in and the NYA was removed, and so she has with her Mononoka as the name. Michael, anything that you'd like to add on the names?
I think you covered, besides that you left out Rapula. Rapula, yes. Rapula Mudibani.
So maybe you can go on with that one.
Yes, he didn't have an explanation of his name, but according to us, Rapula means it's more or less like Motlalipula, whereby you are born during rainy season.
Yeah.
According to our culture, as the Papedi.
All right. Okay, so that was that, but I'm going to focus a lot more on the actual lesson that we had on mentoring, because I thought it was extremely powerful. At the end, I sent Sam a note that said, very powerful. And starting off for us as a group, we felt that, so first, before I even get there, maybe let's talk a little bit about the transitioning, because I thought that leads very well into, my apologies there. So the common denominator across the members in our group was basically that we didn't have much formal structures to transition us from one phase to the other. We were thrown into the deep end, for want of a better word, and we learned that way. And I think the consensus was that in the process, it helped us to grow because we had to be agile and we had to dig deep, as it were, to get to where we are. But importantly, the role the family plays in getting us where, particularly before school starts, the values that we grappled, we got, the confidence and direction that was given to us. Speaking for myself, growing up in a very Christian family, it instilled the values of faith and God. And many years later, where I am now, I still hold those values dear. And as I said to the team, my grandfather was a reverend, and his wife, my grandmother, started a women's movement in the United Methodist Church. It is a huge movement today, but she single-handedly, with the team, went out and laid foundations for that. And to her credit, they have a secondary school named after her because of the work that she did. And so those foundations that were inputted into us hold us good to this day. And in the transition process, Rupani mentioned issues around going into the workplace. That again, there wasn't a formal structure that got us into those places, and we had to learn. And I think for the consensus again was yes, the experiences were worthwhile. Yes, we benefited from it, and it would be good for us to pass this on to those coming after us as we mentor those coming after us. And examples were given of what is actually happening with some of the people that we are mentoring. For me, Michael, is there anything that you might want us to put around the transitioning that we discussed?
I think you've covered everything, George. I think you covered everything regarding the transition, and more especially from we raised the point of from high school to university level, whereby a lot of people we came from rural area, but then when we go to university at the lecture rooms, we see new things and new aspects which made it more or less 3 months of the first years. It's where the challenges of adapting to the university life comes. That's the point that we raised, that if we had a mentor back then to transition us from grade 12 to undergraduate or first year, that was going to make everything easier. More specifically, most of people chose wrong courses. We found out on the second semester they changed their courses due to that pressure of reading the prospectus. They say this course you can get higher, this at the points you qualify, this you're gonna go higher. Therefore, when you get there on the first lecture, you can't hear a single thing. It's a matter of just seeing somebody in front of you talking. You don't even understand. Hence why this is the most part where we discuss that the transition from high school to university is more critical, especially in choosing the careers. Because as I've said, we choose careers based on knowing that we're going to get hired, that we're going to become somebody who's boss or something like that. Hence why on the second semester we change to what we feel like it's more relevant to us. I think you covered everything regarding that.
Thank you. Thank you. An insight which we didn't discuss, but I think it's important for me to put that actually on the table. Your guys, your group did touch about it. And this is the insight around each person is designed or created to give the best of themselves for the benefit of himself, the society that they live in. And so what mentoring does is that it helps you to discover that early, and it helps you to chase it with someone holding your hand.
Yeah.
What happens without it is that we fumble our way through. Some do find their purpose and vision and eventually have an impact on the community, but most don't, because the guidance has been lacking. And so the loss is on the community, because people who would otherwise have added value are no longer doing so because they haven't been given the guidance. And so for each one of us, the role of mentor, it becomes very, very important, that wherever you can, whoever you can help, guide them, because whilst you're learning yourself, but you're doing your community a favor, because you're bringing out the best in those individuals for the benefit of their communities. I think for me that's a very important point. So on the discussions itself that we had, the group agreed that first of all, mentoring is the way to go, and as we go out, we will preach the gospel of mentoring to everybody, that wherever you are, whatever help you can, do it. But more importantly for us was the structure. So when Sam took us through that presentation, mentoring has always been something that, well, let's do it. I can be a mentor, people come to you. But the process of structuring it, being clear on what it is that the goals are, being clear on the steps that we wish to take going forward, that is important, because it avoids the misunderstandings, it avoids channeling energy in the wrong direction, because you have set and determined the direction at the start. These are the things that we're going to do. I'm going to mentor you on 1, 2, 3, 4, and these are the outcomes that we are looking at. And as you follow that process, the individual benefits, because there's clarity in the mind. You know, neuroscience will say whenever there's clarity in the mind, then it's easier for people to act, it's easier for people to follow through. So for us, that was the big one, the issue around structure. That because what we learned today was you can put this in a structure, and this is absolute value for us around that. Issues around knowledge, that you are mentoring people on what as an individual you know. That is important. And that example around someone mentoring a doctor on issues that they know, maybe around running their business, around their own lives, that is absolutely critical. And individually, as in fact, there's a dual role, that you can be a mentor and be mentored at the same time, because you're mentoring in areas that you know and are confident in, but there's areas that you're weak, and it is in those areas that you need somebody. And so as we look back at our own lives, we see that as a gap, a big gap that we didn't exploit. And I say, speaking personally, I would have benefited a lot more from the wise gray hairs, the road that they had walked, the input into just making simple decisions that are based not on self, but self and others. Because as we make individual decisions as young people, it's, oh, I need that car, oh, I need, but there's no decision that said long term, in 20, 30 years, where are you going? What are the things that you aspire for? And how will you impact other people? And so, yes, that was important for us. The advisory role, um, again, to say what you know, as you share what you know, and you learn from others. Michael, is there anything that I have left out? Oh yeah, our name. Uh, so we gave that honor to Kendani to give us a name, and because she is the one in the artistic world, and she came up with Sparkle Innovation. Sparkle Innovation.
Wow.
Uh, and Michael, you need to jump in there if I get it wrong, but it was innovation is straightforward. We need obviously to be innovative. We need the world now is around innovation. There's no safe ground. Only innovate to go forward. But the sparkle was because we were different people in the room. We brought different skills. We had finance people, we had lawyers in there, we had artistic people there, we had technical guys. So because of that combination, it is bound to sparkle your innovation because you don't bring one dimension, you're bringing all these dimensions into your innovation. And therefore, that's where our name came from. Sparkle innovation.
Beautiful stuff.
Mike, did we capture that correctly?
Yes, I think you captured everything correctly. Regarding, we came from different background and we bring different skills and different knowledge and different creativity to one room. Therefore, hence why we are different Sparkle Innovation.
Wow.
Okay.
Good stuff.
That's awesome.
Good stuff. Thank you so much. So
and
much.
then one
colleagues.
more, sorry,
Yeah.
one more was new behavior. What are we going to do going forward?
Yes.
What we are going to do going forward, one is not only preach the gospel of mentoring, but to be deliberate and structured about it. Because then you extract full value of the process. When it is structured, when it's clear, when your beneficiary, your mentee understands where they are going, and you in the process understanding the road that you're taking. So that was a big takeout for us.
Great stuff. So there is a commitment that come next year, this time, we could get some update as to how has this intervention been used to address the needs out there in the communities.
Yes, Sam, I could actually go a step further to say, as a group of friends and consultants in the room, it might be a good idea to select mentees and
Yes.
and individually within the group, we can pick one or two who we can help to mentor. Because obviously, for each individual to go out and find people in our business
Yes.
is not easy. But if we went out deliberately to say, let's pick people, each of us does at least one. You can do two, you can do three. And then by the time we come back, we have numbers to report on. That might be a good idea. Who would actually do that? We can decide amongst ourselves. But I think to deliberately set something.
So there must be a number that we commit to as a group that we want to address and make a difference. So if whether it's George or it's Lungizani or it's Sydney, it doesn't matter. It is for the group, on behalf of the group.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's wonderful. So yeah, we have the LEKGOTLA every month, so we can reflect on it every time we have LEKGOTLA. And then we could also send communication to each other and update. There could be areas of major need that is communicated to us, and then we can look at our various skill sets and check who of us is appropriate to mentor those people that have been identified as needy. I mean, the issue of transitioning from high school to university is a common problem. And I think it's that time of the year now that so many students are arriving at the universities, and they've probably taken decisions now. They are in the first semester, but probably they're wondering what next. And one thing for sure, they've taken a decision that they're not going back into that course in the second semester. So what next? What can they do?
Yes, and just the questions that say, have you thought through what you want to do? How do you see yourself in 10 years? What path do you want to follow? Just those questions to the young person will help them clear the cloud.
Well, the beauty is that and it's for that reason why every time the last hour of the LEKGOTLA we record it, because it's a way of holding ourselves accountable by producing a podcast and a video to remind ourselves. And this podcast and these videos are sitting on our Facebook groups. A number of people will see it, and somebody will come forward and say, I need help. And how can any one of you help? And the opportunity to mentor somebody is opportunity to grow. So let's check our Facebook pages and see if there are people who are dropping comments there that are really in need of our input. And then we can communicate via our Facebook groups and respond to them. And they might also contact with us directly through our call center email addresses. But great stuff, inspired. Thank you so much. It's been a very long day, but as I said at the beginning of the feedback, that we can tick the box. If that is a measurement, we can tick the box that the 2020 annual internal and external mentorship network, LEKGOTLA Way, has happened. So we'll review next year this time how it has actually assisted us and other people around us, and what has changed in our conduct in our own areas of work and in our own communities. Great stuff. We'll see you, those of you who have booked for Public Relations and Communications Network, the LEKGOTLA Way, next month on the 10th of April. We will be talking PR. What role does PR and communication skill sets play in our career? We all have our own brands as our names. Sometimes we don't do justice to our names. We work hard, we acquire skills and knowledge, but we don't actually package ourselves. We just work. That might be an area of focus for us. Personal brand image. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Any closing remarks from anyone?
Yeah, from myself, I can say that this was a very, very wonderful, and maybe if you can go to mute and sort of feedback. Yeah, so what I can say is that, I've learned a lot from this engagement, and the points that the two groups have brought in, and the last comment from Brother George, which is what we talked about in the LEKGOTLA, is the application of knowledge. A lot of us, we receive a lot of knowledge, but the main important thing is how do we use that knowledge and put it into practice, and have an accounting system, an accounting structure, and commit to ourselves to the betterment of this country, so and the whole entire world. So I think the main important thing for me is not the knowledge that we have received. It is the application of that knowledge deliberately to try and alleviate all these atrocities and the social issues that are happening out there, and make a difference where you are, and make a difference with what you have. Sometimes we always say that we don't have when we have received so much, and even knowledge. Brother Sam was taking us through how it is important for organization to be able to package and be able to reserve knowledge for the generation that is to come. One of the things that we would not be able to account for, if what you're doing is right, and if what you're doing is making a difference, the important question that we have to all ask ourselves is, how can I relate to somebody, to replicate it, to export it, to scale it, to help other people, so that we don't come to a point of repeating same mistakes that have been repeated by others because of lack of documentation and lack of sharing that knowledge. For me, that is what I'm going to go out there and ensure that in my organization, in my community, and wherever I work with programs that I work with, I make sure that what I do, I learn to document so that I can be able to share. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Just quickly, we should not overlook also to thank Mr. Sima and those who are working behind the scenes in his office, for example. I think that they put a huge amount of task in order to make this a success. We can see it beautiful now having broadcast like this, but a lot of work is happening. I'm sure it's happening behind the scenes. So we thank you, Mr. Sima, and the office and the whole team here. Also, like all others have said, we are learning. We're in the process of learning, and it has been a long day, but it was very productive. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks, colleagues. Wonderful words. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. And we'll continue putting together the LEKGOTLAs. And this is a journey and it doesn't stop. Yeah. Thank you very much for your hard work and your input and the contribution that we have now captured in the form of these audios and videos. It will be with us for many, many years to come. That's the whole idea. Using the technology to upskill, to achieve scale. And I believe that the audio and the video is definitely going to go viral. It's not going to end here, and we'll get a lot of feedback, and I'm sure we'll improve on the foundation we've laid. Thank you so much. You take care, and let's be safe. And next time, au revoir. I'll be there. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Amen.
Beautiful. Thank you.